Johnson of Supergirl Radio. I'm just getting the live stream started here. We'll get started officially in a few minutes, but I wanted to get this going so that everybody would know we are live. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the live chat before we get started. We'll have a little bit of time to answer some questions if you have any. This live stream will be about the Supergirl Radio Awards, the final Supergirl Radio Awards that we're going to hold. We started doing these after, or even maybe, can't remember if we did them before season 1, but I know we've done definitely since season 1 as a way to have programming during the DCTV podcast fundraiser that we used to do in the summertime. So this is something that we've been doing consistently after each season. So if you have been listening to Supergirl Radio since then, you will be very familiar with the Supergirl Radio Awards. It's just a fun time where we pick winners in different categories, and it will be kind of like your typical award season. Best episode, best actor, best actress, that kind of thing. So feel free to, while we are picking our choices for the categories, feel free to drop your choices for the categories, and we will check them out after each category. So feel free to do that while you're watching. All right, Morgan, I see you there. Are you ready? Okay, all right. So I'm going to bring Morgan in before we get going. So we will officially get started. Morgan, can you say something just so I can hear you?
Hello.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure audio was good. Okay, well, we will get started here in a second, and we'll bring the awards to the opening for the first category. So we will get the live stream started officially now, and we'll see y'all in a minute.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Noyce, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira.
I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yes! Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired on YouTube and Facebook to hold the 6th Supergirl Radio Awards. And what that means is we're going to be picking and selecting winners for each of our categories that we have. And if you're in the live chat room, the usual Supergirl Radio live and wired chat, you can feel free to make some picks along with us. But before we get to our formal affair for this live stream, we need to get to
the news.
According to supermanhomepage.com, HBO Max is adapting Brian Michael Bendis and Ryan Sook's run on the comic book title Legion of Superheroes as an adult animated series. Bendis reported the news via his own newsletter saying HBO Max has put me to work on a Legion of Superheroes TV show. At the moment, it's being developed as an adult animated show. Can you tell I'm jumping up and down about this? I've been working on it for a while, and last week I was sent to the next phase. I know Legion news can be infrequent. So many diehard Legion fans follow me. So I asked special permission to update you, all of you, on this project in development. Bendis also confirmed that the animated series will be based on his comic book run on the title. The writer did tell fans not to expect the series to premiere anytime soon, with animation projects taking quite some time to come to fruition.
Yeah, so we'll have to keep our eyes on this because Supergirl is a Legionnaire and has a long-standing history with the Legion of Superheroes. So I'm wondering if we'll get a Supergirl in this Legion.
We could indeed get a Supergirl on this one. And it's adult. It's an adult animation series. Do you think Supergirl's gonna cuss?
Possibly. If it's in the same vein as the Harley Quinn show, I imagine.
Then I don't know
there
that
probably would be some.
I don't know that there's any way that she wouldn't then.
Although in the Legion of Superheroes, they already have their own swear terminology like Sprock. That's true. That's their big F-bomb. So I imagine there'll be a lot of Sprocks.
No. That's so good.
But even if we don't get Supergirl, there's probably going to be some Brainiac 5. There's probably going to be some Saturn Girl. I imagine there'll be some Mon-El. So we'll have to keep our eye out on that. It probably, if it does go into production, it like the article said, or his newsletter said, it probably will be a while because the animation does take time. But keep that on your radar.
Interesting stuff. On our good friend HBO Max.
Yes, we love HBO Max.
We love HBO Max. So many things on there.
We're big fans of HBO Max. So that'll just be another thing to add to the queue. Is that what they call it? I don't think they have a term on HBO Max. Is it a list?
I think it might just be like my list.
Okay.
Which isn't as fun to say.
No, Q's a lot more fun as a
Jazz
word.
that up, HBO Max.
All right, so we do have some CW news, even though Supergirl is no longer on the CW. We thought we might cover this as well.
Still a friend of the show.
a friend of the show, the CW. So this is kind of interesting. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the CW is up for sale. The broadcast network, home to shows like Batwoman and Walker, is being shopped by its corporate owners Viacom, CBS, and Warner Media, multiple sources confirmed to the Hollywood Reporter. The Wall Street Journal, which first reported the news, says that the local TV giant Nexstar, never heard of it, but apparently it's a TV giant.
It's a giant.
is among the potential suitors. Nexstar, which owns 199 local TV stations, as well as the cable channel News Nation and The Hill, is one of the largest owners of the CW stations. It isn't immediately clear whether Viacom, CBS, and Warner Media plan to sell the entire network or retain minority stakes. News of the possible sale arrives as the network, a joint venture between CBS and Warner Media, have never been profitable since its formation in 2006.
That's a long time not to be profitable.
That's 16 years? When the two companies merged the former UPN and the WB network. Much of the revenue that is generated from the younger skewing network is generated from international and streaming sales for such scripted originals as The Flash and Dynasty. The CW previously had a long-standing output deal with Netflix that helped series like Riverdale and All American reach broader audiences and ultimately grow on linear. That pact ended in 2019 as Warner Brothers TV and CBS Studios shifted library deals to their respective streamers, HBO Max and Paramount Plus. Also impacting the profit margins on originals is the fact that foreign sales have almost entirely ended on CBS Studios, and Warner's look to as CBS Studios and Warner's look to retain those rights for their respective streamers. The end of the Netflix output deal and loss of revenue from foreign sales created a larger concern for the studios that previously generated revenue not from linear, but from Netflix and international sales. The CW under CEO Mark Pedowitz, who ranks as the longest tenured broadcast topper, which is a weird
what a way to say that.
Yeah, I guess you could just say like the head of the network, I guess, but broadcast topper also will do. Targets viewers 18 to 34 and offers originals for free on its website and the CW seed. The network was originally designed to feature programming supplied 50-50 by Warner's and CBS Studios. Thanks in part to the success of Greg Berlanti's DC Comics universe of shows, including Superman and Lois, Batwoman, The Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow, among others, Warner's has been the primary supplier of the content on the network. CBS Studios supplies scripted fare, including Dynasty, TV's lowest rated original, and Charmed, while other originals that are not based on either DC or CBS IP are co-productions between both studios. In a memo to staff, in the article in the doc, it says in a memo to staff Thursday, but we're going to just say in a memo to the staff because I can't remember when this article was written. Pedowitz confirmed that the network is on the block, adding that it is, quote, too early to speculate what might happen, unquote. He also goes on to say, first, as many of you are aware, over the past year or so, this transformative time in our industry has led to a series of business activity across media and content companies. Given that environment right now, Viacom, CBS, and Warner Brothers are exploring strategic opportunities to optimize the value of their joint venture in the CW network. So what does this mean for us right now? It means we must continue to do what we do best, make the CW as successful and vibrant as we always have done, which doesn't sound like very well. We have a lot of work ahead of us with more original programming than ever, this season's expansion to Saturday night, our growing digital and streaming platforms, and we thrive when we come together and build the CW together, unquote. Multiple industry insiders have speculated in recent years that Viacom CBS could divest its stake in the CW as its output on the network declined. News that Warner Media, ahead of its Discovery takeover, would look to sell its stake or become a passive partner in the CW would be a surprise given how much the network, the Channing Dungey-led studio programs, which I don't know that I fully understand that last sentence. But that is the article and the kind of boring stuff that goes along with it. But I thought we would cover
a lot of technical how the sausage gets made.
Yeah.
Media conglomerate stuff. Because of course there are only like 10 media companies now that exist, and so they all kind of own the CW.
Yeah.
But none of them really want to claim it as their child's. Nobody cares about the poor CW. I like that they're like successful shows like Batwoman and Legends of Tomorrow, and I can't think of The Flash and no other ones.
No other ones. That's it.
That's hurtful. Supergirl used to be your CBS.
Although you could argue that the CW may have hampered Supergirl's success because her viewership was much higher on CW. No, the CW hampered her success because she was much more viewed on CBS. So that is an argument that could be made if you so wanted to make it. But yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on what happens with the CW. I don't know how that's going to affect the Arrowverse moving forward. It sounds like maybe they could just, if something happened to the CW, they could just shift their shows over to HBO Max.
Yeah, honestly, it's not super surprising. I felt like a couple of the shows that ended, not Supergirl, but a couple of the other ones that were like ended, and I was like, oh, that's ending already. It feels like when that streaming deal with Netflix expired, they really only wanted to produce content that they were going to put on HBO Max. Like they're like, oh, why are we doing all this stuff and we can't even put it on HBO? So I do wonder if like that was kind of the way things were moving anyway with the DC content. So Supergirl felt like it ended because Melissa Benoist was like, no thanks.
I'm tired of being on wires. I'd like to do something else, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Supergirl is still on Netflix. So I don't know when, if ever, that we'll ever see a shift, if she will ever go to HBO Max to join her other DC companions over there on the wonderful HBO Max that everyone should be subscribed to.
HBO Max
has all the DC content that you could want, except for Supergirl. So
because Superman and Lois are over there. I've been thinking about catching up on Superman and Lois, being current, seeing what's going on with my girl Lana Lang. What's she been wearing lately? I think about that sometimes. And I noticed, because I was on HBO Max the other day, I was like, oh, Superman and Lois, like the whole thing is here. But no, to your point, no Supergirl is on there. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our eye on
that. What becomes of Supergirl?
Where does she go from here?
She becomes an orphan, a CW orphan.
Oh, no. All right. Well, we will keep our eye on the CW to figure out what's going to happen with that.
Say a little prayer for Legends. Just think of Legends, please.
What could happen? Could they just cancel the network and Legends is over without a closing chapter?
That would be bad. I almost wonder if they sell. Is there any possibility that they sell it and then they just move all the DC stuff over to HBO Max? There probably has to be. There's probably deals in place that say that that's not allowed.
I don't know. I don't know if they can change anything with the sale. I don't know. That's a really good question. I have a lot of questions
We've
about
got a
this
lot
deal.
of how the sausage gets made questions here.
Just move everything to HBO Max, please, and make it more convenient for us.
You weren't making a profit on these anyway. You might as well have them on HBO Max. I knew that the advertising revenue was probably not keeping them afloat in any way, given viewers and that, but the fact that they never had a profit and all of their, basically they were making all their money on selling things to streaming, that wow.
Yeah,
It's
that
tough.
makes sense. I mean, that goes all the way back to the OG, to Smallville. So
yeah, that's true. Oh my god, the merger of WB and UPN just brought me way back though. I was like, oh man. I remember I was so mad because they canceled Everwood. And they were like, we'll have more Seventh Heaven. Goodbye, Everwood. And I was like, how dare you?
Oh yeah, it is crazy. Well, we'll see what happens to the CW. So I guess just keep watching. As long as the shows are on the CW, keep watching them. All right. Well, speaking of shows, let's give out some awards for the show that we talk about, which is Supergirl, still streaming on Netflix. So you can actually go watch season 6 if you so desire. But we're gonna have some categories here, and we're gonna pick our selections. And while we do that, feel free to drop yours in the comment section in the live chat so that we can see them. All right. So the first one we are going to hand out is favorite episode. That is the first category that we are going to select. So Morgan, what was your favorite episode of season 6?
This is a tough one. Because there's actually a couple that get into that realm.
But you got to pick one though.
Do I give it to Kara because it was about Kara in the last 10 minutes there at the end? Do I give it to one of the beginning episodes because of Jason Bear keeping it so tight? Yeah. Do I give it there are a couple of the prom duology, if you will. Prom and prom again. Even more prom.
Even promer.
Even prom. This time it's prom again. Prom's back with the vengeance. Those were great episodes. I really struggled with this one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, there were a lot of things about season 6 that weren't so great. But what was great? Lena sniffing a branch. A giant cat thrown off by laser vision. A dragon. Why? Sure. So I'm going to give it to, I believe it was it Mixie in the middle?
Mixie in the middle.
I'm going to give it to Mixie in the middle. We also got Mixie in that episode. It felt like an episode of a different season, of a more fun season than the season that we were currently in. And sure, as you're watching it, you might think, what's going on in this episode? Nothing makes sense. Why are we at Lilith Fair? Don't worry about it. Just live in the moment.
Why are we in the opening titles of Charmed?
Yeah, turns out we only have this episode. We only have one night, una noche. We've gotta live while we can. And so that is why I give it to Mixie in the middle.
That's really interesting because my choice for favorite episode was also Mixie in the middle.
Yes,
I also it was the episode I think I like genuinely enjoyed the most because Mixie had that whole I Will Survive parody that he did to give the backstory of Nixley, and there's some really good drama because Nia confesses to Supergirl that she's responsible for bringing Nixley out of the dream realm, and to your point, Lena goes on the hunt for information about her biological mother, Elizabeth Walsh, and there is a kryptonite dragon and a giant cat, and it was bonkers. And it was tons of fun. And that was an episode of the season that I actually really enjoyed. So I'm going to give it to Mixie in the middle. So let's see if we have any picks in the chat. Leslie says, I like the episode with the giant cat. So there's another selection
Nice.
for Mixie in the middle. Let's see. Mind the Gap says, welcome back, Kara. Just because it was about Kara, at least I remember. Yeah, there were some good moments.
There were some good
Welcome Back,
Kara
Kara
moments there.
Let's see if we have. Donna says, if I had to pick just one, I give it to Prom Again. So the Prom and the Prom sequel get a nod there. All right, I think those are some of the picks that we've gotten in the chat. So the next category we're going to go to is Best Episode. Now this. We have to separate out because favorite episode may not be the best episode, and the best episode may not be your favorite episode. So
that is
a
good point. That is a good point. This is a tough one. Again,
this is a really tough one.
This is perhaps, one might argue, the toughest one. I have two contenders for this one. My first contender for this one is Prom Again.
Oh, okay.
I felt like they got some good stuff set up. I felt like Kara had some nice heroic moments in that one. I like going back to Midvale, and I felt like it actually did tie into stuff from earlier in the show's run. And then my other one, just for in terms of like the show deciding to do something that is like a little bit different and like a little bit outside of its usual comfort zone, was the one I believe it was Are you
thinking of Fear Not with the Fear
Visions?
Not?
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm thinking of, where they all have to like deal with their traumas. Do I wish that episode was, I don't know, more about Supergirl? Yes, I do, because it wasn't, and it is Supergirl. But I thought that the show was at least trying something different, and it can be kind of not even to be critical of it, but like a lot of shows, it can be kind of formulaic. It kind of does what it does, and like the show structure itself is kind of what it is. And that this episode, they kind of got out of their comfort zone and did something different. So I think I'm going to give it to Prom Again, just because I liked how it sort of tied to some of the earlier stuff and how it was good character building for Kara, even though it was little Kara. I felt like she actually had an arc in those two episodes, and she came to some decisions about her future that was just about her and not about like 20 other characters.
That is a solid choice. I'm gonna pick, and I also picked an episode from kind of the beginning of the season. I'm gonna give best episode to Lost Souls. I really like
Ooh.
the Phantom Zone elements of that episode. It was kind of what I was hoping that all of the episodes in the Phantom Zone would be like, but not all of them were like this. I thought there were some good father-daughter dynamics between Kara and Zor-El. There was some stuff about, Supergirl and Zor-El and Nixley. They find the Phantom Zone anchor and they try to escape through the mirror. Nixley tries to get Kara to leave Zor-El behind. She tries to be like, hey, you can, ditch your dad. And Kara realizes who Nixley really is. Nixley really shows her true colors. And Kara is not a big fan of it. And they end up destroying the Phantom Zone mirror because Supergirl has to make the decision that she would rather protect Earth from Nixley than go home. So I thought that was a really good moment there for Supergirl. So I'm going to give a best episode to Lost Souls. All right, let's see in the chat. Let's see. Donna says best episode, Fear Not or Welcome Back, Kara. Let's see. Leslie says the last 20 seconds of Fear Not, maybe. So I guess if you wanted to just pick 20 seconds, you probably could. Mind the Gap says Blind Spots. Maybe it could have been better written, but it had some solid performances.
Yeah,
it's a good choice. Let's see. Aaron, I think this is with best episode. I think Blind Spots was the most moving for me, but I like the episode where everyone got courage and they fight a lizard in the museum.
A classic.
Let's see, which one was that? I have it
That
in my notes
was
somewhere.
we were in the totem area of the season at that point.
I think that
So
is
I
the
think
gauntlet.
The gauntlet. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think let's maybe move on now that we've picked our favorite and best episode.
Mhm.
We don't have a worst episode per se
No.
in the category choices here, but we do have an episode that maybe could have been better. So we're gonna put it like that. So Morgan, which episode of season 6 do you think maybe just it just could have been better?
Could have been better. You know what? Gosh darn it, they tried. I don't want to say that there were a lot of contenders for this one for me personally, but there were. And so as usual, because I'm bad at picking, I'm very indecisive. So I'm going to give you my top 2 and then I'm going to pick sort of in real time.
Yeah, you have to pick it.
Which one? So my top 2 A Few Good Women. So that's the second episode of the season, which includes Lex Luthor's trial. And I don't remember anything else that happens in that episode because the trial blotted it out of my mind like a sort of like a full eclipse situation where maybe something good happened. I don't know. Lex trial. It was quite bad. And then then my second my other one that's in contention right now is Hope for Tomorrow, which is where she throws the hope totem into the sun, just into the sun.
Just directly into the sun.
Her whole thing is hope, but in the critical moment she was like, into the sun you go. That one was confusing on like a variety of levels. It's really hard to describe. And so I've got these two where one is like has a really bad thing in it, and then the rest of it is so unmemorable that I don't even recall what happens. The other one where it's like every aspect of it is kind of bad. And so I feel like I have to go with the one where it's just sort of bad all the way through. Maybe there was something great besides that Lex trial. I don't know. I don't remember it. So I'm going to go with Hope for Tomorrow. I feel like if your main character's main thing is hope and you have them throw it into the sun, like quite literally into the sun, there should be some
you don't need it.
Even if you're that should be a choice that you're making on like a grand character level that you need to address. The next episode can't just be like, all right, guys, pot stickers. there needs to be some repercussions, and it turns out there really weren't.
Because they had another hope totem after that. So it was
Yeah, sure.
fine.
It regenerates, so don't even worry about
Yeah,
it. So
no, it was totally cool.
so yeah, that's the one I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, I couldn't decide how I wanted to approach this because you could approach it two ways. You could approach it with what was kind of the worst episode, or what was an episode that was nearly a good episode.
Oh, that's a good one.
So if I was gonna say like worst episode, I would say Hope for Tomorrow because that's the maddest I've ever been at the show. But I think for the second approach, where it was like just inching towards actually being a good episode, I think I might give this one to Fear Not, because it had a couple of things in there I think they could have tweaked to where it would have been a really solid, great episode of Supergirl. And there were things that were keeping me from thinking it was a good episode because parts of it were kind of confusing. I didn't understand some of the things that were going on. And I think that if they had made a few slight changes to it, it could have been a really great episode. So my choice for episode that could have been better, I think I'm going to give it to Fear Not.
I like that we both had like different interpretations of the actual category itself.
Well, we didn't really have rules.
No, there are no.
About
that's the thing. There are no rules here. This is the Thunderdome of award shows. That's what we like to say.
We didn't really have any like qualifications.
We didn't really like get together and huddle on this before anything, as you can tell. We wanted to come in fresh. No, I do think that's like a good way of looking at it, though, and I agree actually because that was in one of my contentions for like one of the best episodes, but I didn't pick it ultimately because I feel like there were some things missing, and I remember when we talked about it, it was like this was almost really good, and then some stuff in the structure and in the writing kind of let it down. But I did I like that they were playing with what an episode of Supergirl looks like.
Yeah,
they almost got it.
They were so close. They were so close. All right, let's see if anybody in the chat has some options here. Let's see. Nicole mentions that instead of a weakness, we have to say an area of opportunity in academia. So yes. Fear Not had an area of opportunity, and they didn't capitalize on it, in my opinion. So that's what I would say. Let's see. I'm trying to. Maybe we should put in the chat like dictating the different categories because it's kind of hard. I think some of the comments are blending together a little bit.
I see from Miss Fiction Fanatic, the second episode of season 2 was not good.
That would have been A Few Good Women.
Yeah, that was very nearly my choice.
Yes.
Leslie says A Few Good Women for the farce of a trial, blind spots, and the last gauntlet for areas of opportunity. CM Gutierrez says worst episode, A Few Good Women. Best part was Lena's strut into the courtroom.
I mean, that was a saving grace.
That's a great strut. And then very shortly it was going to go off the rails. I think Donna might be saying Kara as an area of opportunity episode, which I would actually agree with given the way that Rebecca looked at this category that I want it more for it.
I think there are things that could have made Kara a lot better. Let's see. Miss Fiction Fanatic says Blind Spot was probably my least favorite. I know what they were going for, but it felt like they made all the characters act out of character to make Kelly look better. Let's see. Donna says Blind Spots was the maddest I've ever been. So there's another option there.
And Aaron said, which one was the one where she destroyed all the nukes?
Let's see. I wrote that down. Let's see. Where was that?
That was in your handy guide that you.
Yes, I did make a guide
provided
of all
for me. I needed that guide. Let me tell you, a lot of these episodes blend it for me.
I'm gonna do a find. On
I believe
this.
that might have been. I want to say maybe it was Hope for Tomorrow.
I think it's Hope for Tomorrow.
Because she also says that she's forbidden from interfering in human history in that one. And I was like, since when, girl?
Yeah, that was Hope for Tomorrow. Okay. Well, good choices in the chat. Thank you for sharing them. The next episode category we're going to get to is underrated episode. So, Morgan, which episode of season 6 do you think is underrated that people are just not giving it enough credit for?
People are just not talking enough about that episode. Where's the chatter? So I feel like I maybe have this one's a tough one. Because I feel like some of them that were sort of my runners up for like good episodes are kind of pretty well covered. Like people aren't sort of sleeping on those episodes. So I would say either Welcome Back Kara, because Kellex, we got to see Kellex, and then he became an adorable climate change monster. Zor-El tried to fix climate change, but then a bunch of people told him, like, it's chill, stop stressing out about it. And he was like, cool, I guess I'll just go see my wife I forgot to tell I was alive. And but it was actually an episode that felt mostly about it was also about climate change for some reason, but it was mostly about Kara, and I thought that there was some good stuff with her, like PTSD. She got to sort of go through and like discuss her trauma. There was a good Danvers sisters couch scene. So for me, it's either that one or it is A Nightmare in National City, because I really liked
solid choice.
Yeah, I really liked the dreamer aspect of it, and I've talked about this a little bit in like the season 6 stuff, but I feel like out of everybody, Dreamer got a storyline that actually made sense as kind of a character arc, and so getting to see her really address stuff with her mom, go into like the dream realm, have those hard conversations with Maeve again, and decide to forgive Maeve but not forget. I thought, and stand up for herself and be like, hey, it's not cool. Would I have preferred, if they were going to have a forgiveness storyline, that Maeve not try to, like, betray her again?
Yes, as they're going through the episode.
Yeah, I would have. I think that would have been more impactful. Not a choice I would have made, but I thought it was a great episode for her character, and the whole season actually built up to it. So I'm going to go, I just talked myself into that one. So I'm going to go with Nightmare in National City. Yeah.
Solid
Under the radar.
Solid choice. I think I am going to go with Phantom Menaces.
Ooh.
Good. I thought there was some good exploration into Alex's sadness and grief over not being able to save Kara. I liked the introduction and backstory of Nixley. I thought the Supergirl Nixley stuff in that episode is actually really good, because Supergirl bonds with Nixley and encourages Nixley, because Nixley's kind of down on herself. There's also some good drama of Magan almost being turned into a phantom. So it's kind of scary for Magan for a little bit. It's one of it's one of the last times we see Magan. so you got to hold on to that. There's also
never forget.
We still don't know where Magan is. Actually, we do. She's in the painting.
She's in the mural.
Yeah.
She's Dorian Graying it up there on Esme's wall.
And that episode actually also had some Lena and Brainy versus Lex. There's a really good scene of them debating on whether or not to kill Lex, and Brainy dealing with his hatred of Lex. So there's some really good stuff from Jesse in that episode. And I thought Phantom Menaces actually did a pretty good job of balancing the Phantom Zone story and the Earth Phantom story. So I don't hear a lot of people talking about Phantom Menaces, but I think it's a pretty underrated episode in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that one was good. And honestly, I'd kind of forgotten about it, but I did like some of the stuff that they had going on in that episode. And it kind of felt like, all right, like after the first two were like a little bit like rocky, some good, some bad. It was like, okay, I think like this Phantom storyline and the Phantom Zone stuff is going to really like ramp up. I remember thinking that to myself and be like, all right, the first two, a little bit good, a little bit bad, but this one, I think it's gonna, from here on out, to the sky. I remember I was so much younger then.
That was such a long time ago, actually.
It actually was a legitimately very long time ago. Like when did that even air?
Oh, let's look that up, because I'm actually curious now. because I don't even remember when season 6 premiered. Um, but it feels like a long time ago.
Because I remember the hiatus with no end.
It did, yeah. Because I think that was during the time I was in Hawaii, which would have been
It was
April.
because it came back right after, or during my honeymoon from the hiatus. So it had been hiatusing around until August.
Yeah,
So,
Phantom Menaces aired April 13th, 2021.
oh my God. So,
Yeah.
quite some time ago.
Such a long time ago. Let's see. What are they saying in the chat about underrated episodes? Jen says Car is better than people think. CM Gutierrez 74 says, I believe in a thing called love. Let's see. Mind the Gap says, welcome back, Kara, because by then, people who maybe dropped the show definitely didn't watch. It could have been a season premiere. Let's see. Aaron says, welcome back, Kara. Let's see. A lot of people are saying welcome back, Kara, for underrated episodes. So that's really interesting.
Donna agrees with you, though. She said Phantom Menaces, that's the one where they go looking for the Phantom Next. Great homage to Aliens, which I don't remember.
Is that the one where? No, that's not the one where Lena sees like the.
I thought, I thought that was in Fear Not, right?
Yeah, that's in Fear whatever. Is it Fear Not? Yes,
I
I
think.
think that's the episode. That's the one where Lena has the Ripley homage. So yeah, that would be that episode. Let me make sure. For some reason, Fear Not seemed weird when I said it, but it is titled Fear Not.
I think that's right, though.
Yeah. So that would be the one with the alien homage, unless there was another alien homage.
Maybe there were multiple.
Maybe.
What if this whole season was an alien homage and we didn't realize it?
It was mostly Harry Potter. But maybe they could work in aliens. Oh, I know what Donna's talking about. The Phantom Menace is where Alex goes to the alien nest.
Oh, okay. So
let's see.
Multiple.
Is that the? No, I think that's maybe Lost Souls. Is that? Are you talking about the alien nest when they have to go save everybody from being turned into phantoms? I think that's Lost Souls.
Oh, I think that was Lost Souls.
Yeah,
but I could not tell you.
Yeah, that may be Lost Souls. All right, so good choices for underrated episodes. So that ends all of our episode categories. I wish I had a clapping sound effect or like a drum roll. I should have made a drum roll sound effect.
Like the golf clap.
So now we are going to get into our acting categories. So the first one we are going to start with is Best Actress. So Morgan, who do you think among the cast gave the just the best performance in season 6?
You know what? The actresses were giving it their all this season. Did they always have the grace material? No. Did their material make sense all the time? Also no. It's really tough to choose a best actress because, like, do you go with Cara, Melissa Benoist, even though Cara didn't have like a coherent character journey in this one? That was hard work that she had to do. Do you go for Ozzy Tesfaye because she had like a couple of really good episodes and she got to really bring Kelly Guardian to life? Do you go with Nicole Maines because her character actually did have a good arc this season and she did a great job with it? Do you go with Katie McGraw because she had to sell that suddenly her character was a witch?
She may have had the hardest job.
Arguably she did. It's a really tough decision. I mean, I think Kyler Lee also did a great job this season with everything that she had and Alex was doing. This was, I think, one of the toughest ones that I've had to decide because I'm still kind of undecided. But it is the last season, and it is kind of her show. So I'm gonna give it to Melissa Benoist. I thought that she really sold the Phantom Zone stuff in the beginning of the season, even though it wasn't like particularly like targeted at like character development. It turns out like they just sort of brought it in little bit at a time, and I thought that especially in like the last bits of the season, there were sometimes it wasn't coherent, and I was like, why is she throwing that into the sun? But I always believed that like Melissa Benoist was Supergirl. Like
Yeah.
I never lost that. I never lost Kara in the insanity of the story. And boy, there was a lot happening in that story that season. So, I mean, I think all these ladies, though, had a lot to sell, and not all of it sensical. So, hats off.
Yeah, but if they can sell it, that makes them better actresses.
Yes.
So yeah, Melissa Benoist, always a solid choice. I am going to give it to Peeta Sargent, who
Nice.
played Nixley. I think she was somebody that I wanted to always see in the episode. I was always interested in what Nixley was doing. I thought she made some really clever character choices as she developed the character when kind of towards the end, like Nixley would not sit sit like a normal person. She'd be like kind of laying down with her legs in the air. She'd be like doing some kind of weird pose on a desk or something. She made interesting impish choices that were sort of she took what Thomas Lennon did and sort of amped it up a little bit. And so I always thought that she did a great job of playing the impish, the quirky impish side, but also the really dangerous villainous side. And then she took a turn there towards the end when she got a little protective of Esme and she showed some compassion. And she was actually able to trick Kara there a little bit in the Phantom Zone, playing the, woe is me, my dad threw me in the Phantom Zone card. So I think for me, I would say Peeta Sargent for this one. All right, who are they talking about in the chat? Let's see.
Got a lot of chatter here.
A lot of choices. Mick Rips 67 says Katie McGrath. Mind the Gap says Melissa Benoist. Leslie says Peeta Sargent. Aaron says don't make me choose. It's part of the awards. You gotta hand out an award to somebody. CM Gutier 74 says Melissa Benoist. Donna says Mila Jones, little Esme. That's a good choice.
She's great.
Anna says Melissa or Katie. Jen says Kyler Lee. Miss Fiction Fanatic says I think Katie McGrath deserves an award for getting through the tree sniffing scene with a straight face.
Indeed, she does.
Yeah, she really went for it there. Let's see. And also Miss Fiction Fanatic says the actress who played Nixley was really good, especially that scene where she was talking about the snow leopards. Yeah, Nixley had a lot of emotional roller coasters during the season, even to the point where she had to fall in love with Lex Luthor and had to sell that. So
yeah, she did a great job. I really liked her as a villain. I thought she got a little undercut at the end of the season, but it was not due to the performance. I thought that the performance was strong throughout.
Yeah, the writing didn't do her justice by the end, but she sold everything that she was supposed to. So good choices, everyone. All right, so we're going to move on to Best Actor. So Morgan, who do you think in the season 6 cast was really selling it with their performance this season?
So yeah, this is a good one. So the field is actually narrower than Best Actress because there were only, I think, 3 male like full-time cast members this season.
I think so.
David Harewood, Jesse Rath, and Stas Nair, I think, were the. I guess
you could include John Cryer if you wanted to.
I was about to say you could include John Cryer.
This is kind of an open category. It doesn't, I guess, necessarily have to be recurring cast members. So just kind of go with what you think.
I'm gonna give it to Jesse Rath. I was briefly like maybe David Harewood, but then I thought like what did John really do this season? And I thought, much like John does at People, but I didn't come up with much of anything. Unfortunately, because John is one of my favorites, and just didn't have a lot going on this season. But Brainy actually did have a lot going on this season. He had like a lot of feelings, a lot of big feelings that he had to figure out how to deal with, because he wasn't like repressing anymore. He had a love affair with vegetables and junk food. So really both sides there. And I thought that he had like a lot of nice scenes with other cast members, a lot of nice stuff with Katie McGraw, a lot of nice stuff with Nicole Maines, and I really liked his he even had some nice stuff with Ozzy Tesfaye, I think, in Blind Spots. So I thought that he gave like a good performance, even though some of the stuff at the end of the season, when I thought his performance when he realizes he has to go back to become one with the big brain, and that sort of almost Brainia sort of breakup scene in the one episode that was like immediately undone, was really powerful and made me really sad. And then, in the finale, it was just like LOL JK. But I thought Jesse Rath really did sell me on everything that Brainy was going through. So I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah, Brainy did go through a lot, especially at the beginning when he was trying to get Supergirl back, and he had a great time. I think Jesse, speaking of Jesse, the actor seemed to have a great time in the Midvale episodes where he joined the Glee Club and the baseball team. So he got to play a lot of different sides of Brainy in season 6. So I think I'm going to go with Jesse Rath as well. So who are people picking in the chat? It looks like a lot of love for Jesse Rath. CM Gutier 74 says Jesse Rath. Jen says David Harewood. Leslie says Jesse Rath. Donna says they gave Jesse the most material this season. Miss Fiction Fanatic says David and Jesse. Mind the Gap saying John Cryer. Lex is a villain. We're not supposed to like him, so he did a great job. Yeah. If you didn't like Lex Luthor in season 6, job well done for John Cryer. Aaron says, I'd give it to Jesse for the tablet destroying scene alone. And let's see. I'm trying to see if anybody else has any different answers. Yeah, so it looks like a lot of Jesse Rath in the chat. So he almost swept the chat. A couple of different answers there, but a lot of love for Jesse Rath for that
I
category.
do see Miss Fiction Fanatic says it's hard to choose since they were not given much to work with, but Stas did a good job being angry at a TV, which I agree.
Yeah,
So angry.
I think Stas Nair did a really good job there at the end, right before he died. So I'll give him that. What is Bunsen up to?
It's a rare Bunsen sighting.
Rare Bunsen sighting.
I felt like we should celebrate and appreciate.
Yeah, we can take a time
he's
out.
Not
from
going on our schedule or looking at the camera in any way, in a traditional way. I keep trying to get him on camera. He doesn't really want it though, but he'll look. And of course, he knocked over my ring light. So we're just gonna switch over to Rebecca for just a quick second.
Yes, I will take
flew
control.
Too close to the sun there with Bunsen.
It is a rare Bunsen sighting, so nice to see Bunsen joining us. Bunsen of the Lab Cats. Bunsen and Beaker are always a welcome sight on the live stream. You never know what you're going to get with the Lab Cats when they show up. So we will get back to the Supergirl Radio Awards when Morgan is ready.
And we're back.
Okay, so it looks like Morgan's good to go.
And we're back. It's almost like the ring light didn't fall because of Bunsen. Still precarious though.
All right, so we are going to move on from the acting category to now just picking our favorite character of season 6. So Morgan, do you have a character that stuck out to you as being a real standout character in season 6 that you just really enjoyed seeing?
I mean, it's one of those things where like I love everybody because of like loving the show for so long, but all of the character arcs were kind of all over the place. So it is hard to choose my favorite character for this season, because I don't like my usual go-tos, Kara and Lena. I don't feel like they had especially fantastic seasons this season. Neither did John. So I think I'm gonna go sort of out of left field for me. I'm gonna get out of the boardroom and the ballroom. I'm gonna give it to Nia. I think
Oh,
she
okay.
actually had a fantastic season this season. I think it was nice to see her sort of deal with the thing that we always joke about with her, that her powers are nebulous and could be anything. And the fact that the show used that as her plot line, I thought was kind of brilliant, because it was like, oh, you've been complaining because she can do whatever. Well, she also doesn't know what she can do. How about that? And I was like, oh, okay, tell me more. And I like that she got some closure with some of the storylines that were dangling for her. Honestly, that's a champ move right there, because not many people get closure on storylines that are dangling on Supergirl, the television show. And so for that, I command her.
Yeah, she had a whole yeah, her storyline ran the gamut. She had a whole storyline with Brainy and the love story there. She got to reconnect with her sister Maeve. She got to spend 24 hours with her dead mother.
Yeah.
So lots going on for Nia.
She got to go back into the past.
She went back in time.
Yeah,
to meet
she was like a
young Cat Grant.
major driver in the prom and prom again episodes. Look who's promming too, if you will. So yeah, I feel like it was like, in many ways, Cara and Lena are my favorites on the show. But when I'm looking at just season 6, I think she had overall one of the strongest seasons as one of the characters.
Yeah, that's a solid choice. For me, I think a lot of these choices are gonna be around Nixley, because
That's a good choice too.
Nixley for me was just a character I didn't think I would like, because I was like, well, it sounds like Nixley was like in a comic book, like didn't have much history behind the character, and I was like, I don't know about this character. But then she showed up, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I like this actress. I've seen her before in some stuff. I think she's pretty good, and the character was pretty interesting. So I think for season 6, the character I most enjoyed following was Nixley. So that's who I would pick for this category. All right, let's see what people are saying in the chat.
A lot of chatter in this category. Let's see.
Mind the Gap says Stas had a thankless job. No one was watching this show for William.
That is, you know what?
sadly.
He made me believe that he loved baking, and that's
He
the
really
thing.
did.
Because they threw that character attribute at him. Talk about last minute. They were like, "Listen, nothing else we were doing with this character has been working. What if you're really into baking?" And he was like, "Got it." And I believed that he was really into baking,
And they stuck to that until he was
until
killed.
the very end. I also believed that he believed he had a girlfriend named Mary in Canada.
She also was a baker.
Yeah,
That's how they met.
That's how real she was. I see. Donna says Esme was her favorite of season 6, with the runner-up of Nixley.
Yeah, and Cool Softness 94 says Supergirl. Mick Rips 67 said Lena Luthor. Let's see. Mind the Gap says favorite character Kara, for whatever that means. Let's see. Leslie says I wanted to enjoy seeing more Supergirl and Kara and the Danvers sisters. CM Gutier 74 says Lena Luthor. Nicole says Esme was my own personal yellow sun grenade every time she was on screen. That's a great way to put that.
It really is. She was Esme really stole the show in season 6. She made that last run of episodes a lot more tolerable.
Jen says Lena. Let's see. Aaron says Nia did have a great arc. She learned about this year. Learned a lot in season 6 and reconnected with family. And Miss Fiction Fanatic says Esme. So a lot of good choices in there. I enjoyed that a lot of people picked Esme in that category. Solid choice. All right, so the next category that we're going to get into is favorite guest star. So Morgan, who do you think was your favorite guest star? And guest star is like a character who just popped in for a little bit and kind of
time to time.
and left because he was never going to see us again in his lifetime. So
Not once again in this life. So Mon positive. He really won that breakup is the thing. With that line, he was like, "And I've won. Goodbye." And that's not something you can say all the time. Good for him. Good for him. Yeah, there are a lot of. I didn't realize until I saw the list you kind of put together, just how many guest stars there were this season, and like how many good guest stars we had. Like Helen Slater popped up to shoot an owl or whatever. Like we had young Cara, young Alex, young Cat Grant, and then actual Cat Grant.
actual Cat Grant.
We had Mon-El, who would never see us again in this life. We had both Luthers, Lillian and Lex. We had Megan. She's still stuck in that mural, but she was there for a while. And we had Makad Brooks. We had Wynn, whose actor's name Jeremy Jordan. I remembered and I never forgot. So I feel like there's like the right answer and then there's my answer.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you both. The right answer is Callista Flockhart.
Okay. All right. So is the right answer like the best guest star?
The right answer is like what I know my answer should be. As a Supergirl fan.
Okay.
As a fan of this show.
Yeah.
The right answer is Cat Grant. It was great to see Callista back.
Yeah.
My answer is absolutely Jason Behr. Keeping it so tight. He looked amazing. He tried to solve the climate crisis. No one cared, and he just left.
He was really close.
He was close.
He just created a garbage monster accidentally.
A garbage monster, and who among us has not done that from time to time? I mean, we're getting a little judgy on Jason Behr. He wore the super suit.
He did. Looks great.
He wore the heck out of that thing. I have a lot of fond memories of him from Roswell, but also of him from Supergirl, because again, he looks so great. Like I would think that no time passed, and so even though, listen, do I think that they wrote Zor-El fantastically? No. Did I expect that there was going to be more of like an emotional reunion between father and daughter? Yes. Was there? No. But none of that was Jason Behr's fault. He tried his best.
He did.
He looked great while doing it.
100%.
And so for that, I give it to Jason Behr.
That's a solid choice, and I would have been disappointed if you had not picked Jason Behr.
Could you imagine if I let this just pass me by, this opportunity to celebrate Jason Behr as he should be? He's gonna get a restraining order from me, by the way.
I think the right answer is Callista Flockhart. So that's the choice I would pick for this category, because when she showed back up at the end, because I didn't think it was possible, because once we got young CJ Grant, I was like, oh, I guess that's the only Cat Grant that we're going to get in season 6. So I
thought too.
I kind of gave up hope that we might actually see Callista in the final season. So when she popped up there in the last episode, I was very excited. And she came back on like she had never left, which was delightful. And she played all of her scenes kind of green screen on the phone for the most part. So she had to do a lot of that without actually being on the set, it looked like. So Callista did a great job, and I was really glad to see that they actually got Cat Grant back for the final season of the show. So Morgan, what are people saying in the chat?
It looks like Donna says Callista Flockhart. Aaron asks, is John Cryer a guest star? I mean, technically.
If you want to put him in that category, you can. I think that's fair. That's your own awards selection there.
Nick Rips 67 says Callista Flockhart. We've got another Miss Fiction Fanatic says Cat Grant. CM Gutierrez goes in a different direction. She says her favorite guest star is the guy who died because the city council lady wanted a sandwich, R.I.P. And you know what? He sold that. Could you imagine being that actor? And it's like, okay, and then you just got to slump over. He's like, wait, I'm sorry. Because she wants that sandwich?
I would kill for a sandwich right now.
He made me believe that he died for that sandwich. And That's
The
really
timing was
important.
perfect. Timing was perfect.
Aaron says classic Cat Grant being on there. Mind the Gap says Isabella Vidovic, who played young Kara. Jen says Win because he sang,
He did.
which is a good reason, honestly. Donna says from all of his screen time, you could almost say David Harewood could qualify as a guest star.
That is a judgment call you have to make.
That's fair. Anna says the guy who played Cyrus, which I think is a good one.
Cyrus.
He was.
Remind
I think
me
he's
who's-
on your. Silas.
Oh,
I
Silas.
believe,
Yes,
is
yes.
who she probably meant, and that was
Claude Knowlton.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
Cool Softness 94 says Cat Grant for sure. And Leslie says Jeremy Jordan.
All solid choices. Great selections by the chat. All right, so now where are we going? We are going into villain categories now. So get ready for some villainy. So the first category that we're going to get to in the villain category is favorite villain. So Morgan, this is going to be a little different. We got to separate favorite out of, favorite from best. So who was your favorite villain of season 6?
It's a good question. I guess does Lillian Luther count as a villain this season?
Yes, I would think so.
Because she didn't do much villainous.
She gets redeemed in the end, but she was working with Lex for the majority of it.
That's true. So I'm going to go with this favorite. This is a personal decision. So I'm going to go with Lillian Luther. I thought she got done dirty in the finale. There was no reason to kill her. None at all.
I thought you were going to say she got done dirty because they redeemed her and she should have just stayed evil and evil.
That too, honestly. That too. I mean, I feel like they did a series of things where they like made her justify the magic storyline like right before dying. It was like, no, you might... Lena, come here close, dear. You might think this storyline is stupid, but I've always known it was always been this stupid. Goodbye, cruel world. And you know what? That's not right. That's not right to do to Lillian. She's a world-class villain. You have her talking about giving you a science textbook so you don't access your magic. Are you kidding me? Justice for Lillian is what I'd say.
Solid choice. For me, let's see. Best villain, I picked.
Oh, this is favorite.
Oh no, we're doing favorite. Yes, correct. I was looking at the wrong category. So favorite villain, Nixley. I just the way that she manipulated people and the glorious moment where she took down the Ormfell building made me very, very giddy because it was such a villainous thing for her to take down the thing that Supergirl worked so hard that whole episode to help, and she took it down in just a matter of seconds. So I'm gonna say favorite villain for me, definitely Princess Nixley.
Nice.
So what are people talking about in the chat?
In the chat, we have Leslie who says Lillian Luther. Donna says Nixley. CM Gutierrez says favorite villain, Nixley. Love her. Donna said she forgot about Lillian, but Brenda Strong rocked. MK or Mick Rips 67 says Lillian Luther. Jen says Lillian Luther. And then it looks like Nicole says #justice for Lillian. Thank you for channeling the rage, Morgan. No problem. No problem. There's a little bit of a #justice for Lillian in the chat. Cool Softness 94 said I would say Lex Luthor. And Nicole says she would say Nixley as well.
Yeah, and there's a question. Do phantoms count? Yes, phantoms absolutely count. They were major villains and villain forces in season 6.
I think the Dementors were pretty scary. They were less scary because I've seen them on Harry Potter. But,
and there's also a question just clarifying. Miss Fiction Fanatic says, do the writers count? That's going to be a voter's choice. I think so. If that is your choice, then you can pick it. All right, so now we are moving on. We've done favorite villain. Let's move on to who was the best villain, like A+ quality villainy in season 6. Morgan, who's your choice?
So the best villain, I'm taking this. I'm being more objective about it. I've taken Lillian's aside. I love her, but she's aside. She didn't really do anything this season, and she was barely villainous, if I'm being honest. They did her dirty, but she's off to the side. I think best villain was Nixley. She got some. It got weird at the end. It got weird at the end, and that's not the best. But there was a period of time when she was quite villainous, like the giant cat dragon period of Nixley. I think was quite good, and I think that as a villain, she also had kind of she had a compelling backstory. She had a character arc up until Lex. Even a little bit with Lex, and then things got weird. I think she had like some really interesting stuff going on. I wanted to know more about the fifth dimension stuff, like the politics of that was really interesting. I thought she was a great villain, like a classic Supergirl villain. Like Supergirl has actually had some really great female villains. I think that's kind of where they shine. I was like, oh, here we go. We're like back to the beginning, baby. It's Rain. It's Queen Rhea. It's Nixley. She's so close. But yeah, I thought that she was in her villainy. I thought she was great, and I thought she was a really compelling character. And Peta Sargent did great with it. So I'm gonna give best villain for the season to Nixley.
Yeah, she had a whole arc with her smoky eye.
Oh,
and
yes.
she had the high collar, the villainous black high collar. So
I loved it. All the looks she was serving me were chef's kiss perfection.
Yeah, she even had the villainy in her wardrobe. Good choice. For this one, I'm gonna go a little out of the box, and I'm gonna say Councilwoman Rankin. I think I'm gonna put as best villain. She was a little mustache twirling, I will admit, a little too on the nose, a little too caricature, maybe a little bit. But when she wanted to do bad things, she did bad things, and she killed a guy for a sandwich. And I really like my villains to be villainous, and I can't really ask for more than that, really, for somebody to kill for a sandwich. So I'm going to give it to Councilwoman Rankin because she was the worst. So if I'm going to talk about villains being villainous, I'm going to give it to her. What are the people in the chat saying? Let's see. It might. Let's see. Morgan, are you there?
I'm back.
Okay. Yes. It looked like you froze a little bit.
I did.
So what are the people in the chat saying about their best villain?
So I am seeing best villain Nixley from Leslie. And Donna said was saving them for best villains, the entire writing staff.
Okay.
We also got writers with a clear margin.
Wow. Okay.
Tell us how you really feel. We have another Nixley. Mind the Gap says best villain Lex Luthor. He really does screw with the characters' lives and has for years.
And he did win at one point because he did send Supergirl to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
He really celebrated it too.
He was kind of a villain, like a bookend villain in the front and the back of the season. So he was in a lot. Complimentary. I do love John Cryer. I feel like you might get the impression I don't. It was just there was too much Lex. But John Cryer,
he's great.
John Cryer comes in. He's like, "Give me all your scenery. It's delicious." And I like that. I like that commitment from him. Jen said, "What about Nia's mom? She was so mean.
She was a little mean in that episode.
She's like, Mom, it's so great to have you back for this one day." And she's like, "I'm very disappointed in you." Like, Mom, could you chill out for like 1 minute? I'm trying to have a nice moment with you. Cool Softness says best villain Nixley. Donna says, Nia's mom, don't you mean her sister? And Maeve actually,
Maeve could
Maeve
be
was like,
considered a villain.
I'm sorry about that thing I did. And Nia's like, all right, I guess I could find my way to. Wait, are you taking this thing from me? Maeve ain't loyal is the thing. Mina Gap says, I don't agree with Nixley because ultimately she didn't do much, and even her worst father is still out there, which is kind of an interesting way to look at it because like her father was maybe kind of the big bad of her origin story, and we never actually got to see any of the fifth dimensional people.
Well, we saw a brief little flashback with her father and her brother. Yeah.
I kind of hoped that we were going to get some fifth dimensional stuff in like the present day, but that didn't happen. CM Gutierrez says, best villain, Lillian Luthor. She was consistently at Thorne and Supergirl and Lena's sides throughout all of the seasons. Nicole Green says, if you aren't a well-dressed, iconic villain, I don't want it. Which I agree. Leslie bringing a deep cut. The best villain was Esme's first foster parents that threw her out on the curb to to protect them.
Yeah, let me see. I had their names somewhere. I was gonna name them if I can remember.
Name and shame them.
Name and shame. Let's see. I thought I had that somewhere, and I don't have it. If anybody has their names in Dana and Joe were their names. The foster parents, Dana and Joe, best villains. Season 6.
Terrible people, just terrible people.
Yeah, put a small child out there defenseless.
Save us, 6-year-old.
Oh, the worst. So that's a great pick for that category. All right, so we are going to go into sort of the moments and scenes section of the Supergirl Radio Awards. So the first one we're going to get into this section is favorite moment or scene from season 6. So this is a pretty broad category. So Morgan, you can pick whatever you want in this one. So what would be your favorite moment or scene?
This is a really tough one, honestly, because there were a lot in between the stuff I didn't care for. There was a lot of good stuff in a whole television season, from the ridiculous to like the heartfelt. So it's really tough to pick. And I think I got my ridiculous one, and I think I'm close to maybe my heartfelt one. So my ridiculous one is definitely Lena finding out she's a witch through a 90s charmed music video. Honestly, that can't be topped.
No.
I was talking to somebody who was like, I didn't think that was real. Like, I thought somebody had like put that together like a fan music video. And I was like, no, I can't stress to you how real it was. It doesn't seem like it could be or should be real.
It was a thing that aired on television.
But it was real. Like, there was no editing done at all in that thing by a fan.
No, it was produced that way. Yeah.
And I think as long as we talk about Supergirl, that's going to be a thing that's in my head that lingers when like important facts about my own life are gone. I think that will remain. And so I have to give it for that because I mean, I think about it a lot. I think about it more than you would imagine. Like every now and then I'm just like, and then they were just in the woods in flannel and bed wigs. Why? So I think that would be my crazy moment. That was my favorite crazy moment. My favorite nice, good character specific moment is probably the conversation between Kara and Lena in the final episode at the wedding. I thought that was really well done. They both looked great because they were at a wedding. Lena presumably was at that same wedding. They were at two different weddings.
She might have come to the wedding from another event, and she just didn't have time to change.
like a couture fashion show or like a cursing from a coven. But I thought that was such a good scene, and it was a good scene for Kara. both of these characters showing how far they had grown, and Kara taking off the glasses at the end and leaving them on the I don't know, like the little table or whatever it was, and like walking away from them and kind of showing that she was ready to merge those two parts of her life into one, one whole life where she's not, hiding parts of herself. Man, if that's where they had wanted to go the whole season and they knew about that, it's weird that they didn't decide to, seed that in almost at all. But I thought in that episode, that was a really well done scene. So either it would be either that or that the conversation she has with Cat Grant, I think also kind of, I think that might have been like almost one of the same scenes. But
you're gonna have to pick one though. We can't hand out a lot of awards. We only have one to give.
I keep trying to cheat on these by picking.
I'm gonna make you choose.
So I'll go with the Kara and Lena scene. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair. I think I'm gonna go with the scene between Supergirl and Nixley right before Nixley takes down the Ormfell. That was a scene that sticks out to me as one of my favorites throughout the entire season. It was one that I rewatched a lot. I was so excited about that scene and the idea that Supergirl had a real villain she was going to face, because Nixley seemed like she was kind of a bad character, but I didn't know how much she was going to give Supergirl trouble. And in that scene, that really won me over to Nixley as a character and really changed how I saw Nixley. So I think I'm going to go with that one. I kind of wanted to cheat a little bit because I wanted to say the moment in the wedding in Kara, I think it was in the finale, when Kara picks up Esme and Esme says something like, "Aunt Kara and I did it," or whatever. Like she talked about like who painted the birdhouses or whatever. and that I almost picked that one because I did love that little moment where Esme talked about her Aunt Kara. But I think I'm gonna go Nixley in the Ormfell building.
Now, if you had to pick one like ridiculous scene from the season.
Oh, ridiculous.
Not specifically like ridiculous bad, but just like insane Lena traipsing through the woods-esque scene. I'm throwing this as a curveball. We don't have this planned.
Well, I'm trying to think of like a I think another good moment in the season is I guess it would have been prom night when or was it prom again? I get the time travel ones confusing because it was kind of a two-parter. But when Kara gets kind of taken by the authorities, come and get her from Naxum's ship, and they've like got her arrested. That I thought was really compelling because like Alex was being like held back and she couldn't help her sister. So that's not like a crazy one, but I thought that was also a good moment in the season. Oh gosh, crazy scene. I'm trying to think. There was probably some of that with Jesse Rath as Brainy when he was fighting the garbage monster.
Oh yeah, that's
possibly
right.
Where he was kind of like he was trying to make Kellex think he was trash, and so he was like trash talking Kellex.
Yes, I forgot about that. That is yes, that's a great one. That's a great moment. I forgot about it, but it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because trash talking is quite like a trash monster. It's perfect logic.
So probably something like that. So yeah. Are there any other picks in the chat?
So Donna says that her favorite moment was Kara and Alex's reunion hug when she's rescued from the Phantom Zone. Mind the Gap also says the favorite moment was the escape from the Phantom Zone. Miss Fiction Fanatic says the duet comes to mind. So that's actually a good one because that's a great cover of that song that I've definitely listened to before. Aaron says favorite heartfelt moment for me is Kara and Alex couch scene in Welcome Back, Kara.
That's a good scene.
Cool Softness says Esme at the wedding because she was adorable. Anna says Kara and Lena sitting on the steps conversation. Jen says the last scene with all of them in the apartment. Which is a great one. We have favorite scene has to be the one with when Supergirl flicks the bullet back at that person's forehead.
Oh, do you remember that? Because we thought like
I thought for sure she killed that guy.
Yeah. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, did you?
Oh my God, Supergirl's getting
Looks
so
like murder.
Yeah. The fact that she can perfectly calibrate stuff like that is very impressive.
Yeah.
I see Aaron says Cara Lena's last scene was a close favorite, second heartfelt. CM Gutierrez says favorite moment scene in Rebirth, which is the premiere when Alex, Cara, and Lena at the Fortress of Solitude, and her second choice is the scene between Brainy and Lena expressing their frustration about Lex. Makes me cry every time. So we have a couple of favorite ridiculous moments from this season. Donna says the giant cat. Nicole says ridiculous museum scientists getting into a full-on brawl in the cafeteria with the
that's a really good choice. There was the museum stuff, like the whole like the David slingshot. I remember being very frustrated by the slingshot business. So the museum stuff was pretty ridiculous. They had that whole storm outside, and yeah.
The museum was popular for favorite ridiculous moment because Miss Fiction Fanatic says the iguana in the museum.
Yeah, you remember the comfort, like emotional support iguana?
That iguana lives in my mind rent free, along with that, along with the many faces of Katie McGraw wigs. But Donna also gives us a great one, which is Eliza shooting owls.
You know, just like a Kryptonian.
Sure, that's the only thing that reminds me of Kryptonians is shooting owls, a majestic flighted creature.
Great choices in the chat. All right, so the next moment that we're going to pick from season 6 is a category favorite Cara Danvers moments. So this is specifically Cara Danvers. I know Cara and Supergirl are the same person, as the finale tried to put forth that they are the same person. There really is no secret identity anymore. But for the sake of the category, just Cara, no Supergirl suit, just a Cara Danvers moment.
I think for my favorite Cara Danvers moment, I'm going to go with the conversation that she has with Cat Grant at the end. So I think it's sort of a two-parter favorite moment for me. So it's that conversation that she has with Cat, where Cat's like, I know that you're Supergirl. Like, what are you doing? Like, come work for me. And Kara's like, journalism? I won a Pulitzer, and then I decided to go out on top for some reason. And you're like, okay, it was always a weird choice, but okay. And Kat talks her back around into becoming like basically helping her. She's going to take over Catco again, and Kara is going to be running it. And I thought that was a really great moment for that character. It kind of felt like we'd been building up to it for a little while, but also we had taken a couple of big steps back on that development. It was weird to bring it around in the finale again.
She had previously quit her job at Catco, just kind of
just done it. Kind of just quit. So I like that. And then I like that final moment of hers at the end when she's giving the interview to Cat Grant. So it kind of connects. And she she tells people that she's Supergirl, and she's also Cara Danvers, and she smiles. And I thought that was a nice place. I mean, it leaves me, again, the finale left me with like, well, then what happens next? But I liked that moment for her character. And I thought that was a nice place to leave her, at least professionally in the show, that she was going to go work for Cat again, like she was in the beginning of the show, only this time as a much higher up, and do journalism like she wanted to.
That's a solid choice. And I think we know what happened after that interview. Everybody in National City saw it, and they were like, yeah, we kind of figured that because she's on TV all the time. Like, Supergirl's on TV all the time. Like, we kind of knew about it.
Just like the lady who gives us hope speeches once a year.
Yeah, that's a great choice, though. I think I'm going to give it to young Cara. Let's see, what episode was that?
That might have been Prom Again.
Prom Again, where she has that great moment where she's like, "You want a Kryptonian? You got one." That was my favorite Cara moment in all of season 6. What a great, just heroic, like kick butt moment for Cara. In a season where she didn't have a lot of those. And I thought Isabella Vidovich really sold that line. And I thought she was just so great in that moment. So that is my pick for favorite Cara Danvers moment.
Yeah, that was a great one. I loved that. I loved her throughout the flashback episodes, but that moment I was like,
Yeah, I
"Yeah,
was like pumping my fist, like,
that's my
yeah,
girl."
that's a great car moment.
So in the chat we have from Donna, her favorite car moment was Kara opening up to Alex about the Phantom Zone in their couch scene at the end of Welcome Back, Kara. Jen said Kara bringing a ton of stuff for Esme when she meets her.
Oh yeah, she had all those stuffed animals that Eliza, I think, had gotten her at one point. Yeah, that was cute.
That was so cute. Sam Gutierrez said favorite Kara Danvers moment, the couch conversation she had with Alex when she said she didn't want to be alone anymore. That was a great moment. And then Erin said, I'd go back to Kara discussing her PTSD with Alex for favorite Kara Danvers moment.
Yeah, a lot of people love that scene at the end of Welcome Back, Kara, because that is it is focused on Kara, and it's a great moment between the sisters, and Melissa and Kyler did do a great job in that scene. All right, so now we're going to flip it over to the other part of Kara Danvers' favorite Supergirl moment. So this is a moment where Kara is in the Supergirl suit. She is super and heroic, and she is doing something in the super suit. So, Morgan, what would you say is your favorite Supergirl moment from season 6?
So I'll be honest, when I looked at the categories and I got to that one, I thought, oh boy, I'm in trouble with this one. And you would think that this would be the easiest on a
You would
show
think.
called Supergirl. You would
Yeah.
think that this would be the easiest category.
You'd have lots to choose from.
You'd have so many things to choose from. But in fact, I had very few things to choose from because Supergirl's choices this season were incredibly strange. From meddling in the affairs of humans, a thing that apparently she's always known, this whole
She's
time,
Never
that
supposed
she's
to
not
do.
supposed to do.
And we definitely heard that on screen.
Always, like once per episode. To throwing the hope totem into the sun.
Just directly into the sun.
One of my favorite ones, sort of under the radar favorite Supergirl moments, when she couldn't hold off like a bunch of people that were angry, so that William had to do it for her.
Mhm.
There were just a lot to choose from, really. But think about it. So I had to go way back if I didn't want to choose a hope speech that she's done 5 times before. And so I'm going to go with, I think it is, when does she escape the Phantom Zone? Is it before the prom double feature? Is it during the prom double feature?
I think it's after the prom double feature.
Is it during Fear Not, maybe?
Yeah, it's at the end of Fear Not, and then like they officially welcome her back into the tower in Welcome Back, Kara.
So I think it's the end of Fear Not actually, it's not Fear Not. This is the moment I'm thinking of is, and I don't know which episode this is because they all kind of zoom in together. But when she realizes that like Nixley is actually kind of a bad lady and like not like a great friend.
That is in I want to say that's Lost, or is it Phantom?
It might be
Phantom
Lost
Menaces
Souls.
or Lost Souls.
I think it might be Lost Souls when she realizes that Nixley's like not great, and she has a choice between getting out of the Phantom Zone but bringing Nixley with her.
Yeah, that's Lost Souls.
Yeah, or choosing to break their way out of the Phantom Zone, which means that she might not ever get out, and she hates the Phantom Zone as does anybody who has to deal with Dementors on like kind of a consistent basis. As Prison Mike on The Office said, the worst part of prison is the Dementors, and she agrees. But I thought it was a very heroic Supergirl moment where she's like, this could mean that I have to spend forever in the Phantom Zone, but I can't let you on Earth to like do whatever crazy thing that you're planning on doing. And so I'm going to smash both of our ways out of the Phantom Zone and sacrifice that, maybe my happiness for the rest of my life, just to protect other people. And I thought that was a very strong like Supergirl moment. I was like, yeah, you go, Supergirl. the rest of the season was kind of rough on those moments, and so I do remember that one. I just didn't remember what episode it was in.
Yeah, that's Lost Souls, and I knew that because I also chose. That was gonna be my
Nice.
pick for favorite Supergirl moment. For all the reasons that you mentioned, it was a very sacrificial thing that she did. That she put everybody on Earth before herself, and she broke the spare mirror. So that was the backup mirror that that she broke because the original one was cracked when they got there, and and I also liked that whole scenario because Kara or Supergirl, she has the Supergirl suit on when she's doing it. The idea of activating the mirror had to be done by someone who was like righteous, and so it was Supergirl who was the one who activated the mirror. And so I really liked all of that for Supergirl, and it was a very dramatic scene. She tried to save Nixley when everything was blowing up, but Nixley wasn't going to come with her, and so unfortunately, she thought at the end of it that Nixley had died. But I thought all of that was really strong for Supergirl. And Supergirl, nobody told her to break the mirror. She made that decision on her own, and it was very much just a Supergirl, specifically just Supergirl herself moment, doing that for herself and for the world. So I thought that was a great impactful moment, and I wish there had been more of those with Supergirl throughout the season, but that one for sure sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, Supergirl didn't do a lot of what I would call winning this season at all. But I thought that I like that we both like independently without discussing it like chose the same moment. I think that shows both that like we've been doing this podcast with each other a long time, but also that there was maybe only one or two moments to choose from. But let's see if the chat chose some different moments.
Maybe so.
Maybe there were more that we didn't think of. So Anna actually says Kara choosing to keep Nixley bound. So that was that moment that we were talking about. Donna says Supergirl talking to Esme about her superpowers.
I would have maybe given it that, but because it took a turn for the worse for Supergirl there, where Esme was like, I can't deal with all the bad noises. That felt like a fail, like a Supergirl fail. So it could have been really close to being like a great Supergirl moment.
Again, she didn't get a lot of wins this season in like any way that you could think of. Leslie says it certainly wouldn't be when Alex takes the Destiny Totem from Supergirl.
Oh yeah,
straight out of her hands.
That was a rough moment
as she's watching. Cool Softness says, I would say when Supergirl was trying to help Esme with her powers and also help her dad escape the Phantom Zone. Jen says Supergirl coming immediately when she hears Esme call for her after the proposal.
Solid choice.
That's a good one. Nicole says Kara straight arming that dude to keep Lena safe while she collected magically charged herbs was entertaining. I love Kara casually owning a bad guy. Miss Fiction Fanatic says Supergirl destroying the mirror, even though it meant she'd be stuck in the Phantom Zone. And I got another one from Anna who says Supergirl telling Lena Lex wasn't her family, but they were. Mind the Gap chose the same one. Supergirl sacrificing her way out to stay in the Phantom Zone. And CM Gutierrez says favorite Supergirl moment in the Gauntlet when Kara relives her introduction to the world as Supergirl. She's not in her super suit, but was every bit a hero in that moment.
Solid choices all around. Okay, so we are wrapping up the Supergirl section of the awards, and this is going to be our final award that we're going to be giving out for the final Supergirl Radio Awards for season 6. And this is the category of season 6 MVP. And if you don't know what MVP means, it means most valuable player. And the way I approach this category, Morgan, is who is the character of the season that if you removed the character from the season, the entire season would just fall apart. That's how I determine most valuable player, like the most important character of the season. Who would you pick?
Okay, this is a tough one because I was initially going to go with Lena.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like whatever weird witchy thing was happening with her, it was crazy. And every episode, she got like a new witch power, I was like, I don't know what I'm watching. Is this Riverdale? And so I was always kind of on the edge of my seat, what's she gonna do next? Is she gonna add a scarf to the mix? But and I almost feel like perhaps in a magical centered season, in theory, she should work as the MVP, right? Because she suddenly knows magic. However, in this show, you could literally take Lena right out of the season and everything progresses pretty much the same way.
That's true.
It turns out her random magic powers didn't really affect anything in the main plot.
Didn't come into play in the magical ending of the show.
Yeah, in the magical ending of the show. She did her spells did help in some of the lead up episodes. But in the end, not so much. And so in that case, I feel like I have to go Nixley because I feel like if you picked Nixley up out of the season, the end of the season is way different. There's no totems. Nobody has to fight over a scented candle or anything. We don't learn anything about that sling or history, and that would have been a problem. So yeah, I mean, I think Nixley being the villain of the season sort of set the tone for much of season 6, and I think if you took her out, it would be a very different season. So I think she, in many ways, she was the MVP of this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think even if you remove Nixley from the Phantom Zone scenes, you lose a lot of stuff in the Phantom Zone. So I would definitely pick Nixley as my MVP, and I think if she wasn't there, the season would be very different. She drove a lot of the story from the Phantom Zone on into the totems. It kind of petered out at the end a little bit, no pun intended to the actress's first name, but I think she did control or command the storyline for most of the season. And if you did take her out, the season would just completely fall apart. So I would say Nixley.
Nice. We're in agreement again. Look at us. Let's see what the chat says. Donna says her season 6 MVP was Esme. She says she gave the season the most life.
Oh, that's also a way to look at it.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Mind the Gap says Nicole Maines because of her relationships with multiple characters, which I think is actually really works well because she did sort of talk to a lot of different characters throughout the ensemble. So I think she was sort of connected to a lot of people. Leslie said MVP is Kara Supergirl, but the writers didn't agree.
Yeah.
Jen says Brainy, which I think Brainy did have a really good season this season. McRips 67 said Lena Luthor. Her sun grenades and other inventions allowed Kara to be rescued.
Yeah, Lena also invented like a Ghostbusters pack at one point with the Phantom. So she did have a lot of inventions.
Yeah, Lena was, I mean, I take back what I said because I think if you took Lena out of the season, like everybody would have died at various points. So I think that Lena was kind of instrumental. Nicole says, I would argue Alex Danvers. I think this was actually a big season for Alex. I think we saw sort of some of the storylines that they had set up for Alex pay off in this season. So I think that worked out really nicely. Lena, but I'm just biased for Miss McGraw. It could be Lena because Kara would have died in the first episode of the season without her. So again, pointing out that Lena kept some people alive.
She did have that sun grenade, yeah.
MVP, Alex Kyler. Alex would be a strong contender. She's the second main character. Actually, Jen says, couldn't have happened without Magan still patrolling.
You know what?
The silent MVP.
Magan could be into consideration. Maybe Magan was like secretly helping everybody behind the scenes. We just didn't see it.
When you only saw the one footsteps, that's when Magan was carrying you. Poor Magan in that mural on the wall. I feel so bad for her.
So great choices for all of the Supergirl Radio Award categories. So thank you to everybody in the chat for playing along with us. Morgan, I think this is the first time you've actually done the Supergirl Radio
I
Awards.
think it actually is because we usually do it during the charity show, right? And I'm like almost never around for that portion of it.
she always ditches me for the Legends podcast.
This is like the first annual for me. But
So-
I'm kind of a first time, long time in this situation.
So it's actually fun to pick the categories with you. So I appreciate your actual participation this time around. All right, so we do have an email to get to, a little bit of feedback that we didn't get to during our Armageddon episode. So we do have an email from Daryl, who sent in some thoughts about the Flash's Armageddon. Daryl writes, quote, "This event is so uninteresting. We barely get Alex in any meaningful way. We got some unrecognizable version of Ryan Choi after the Arrowverse forgot about him post-crisis. We have Mia come back, but still leave her search for William on a cliffhanger when they should have just resolved it, since we won't be getting Green Arrow and the Canaries." And Daryl also says, when Allegra just had to tell Chester she loved him, she chose the most awkward time to do it. So yeah, Daryl had a lot of similar criticisms that we did during the Flash Armageddon episode that we did with Kat Calamia of the Legends of Tomorrow podcast. Some of the things I think maybe we could put in the category of crossover event that could have been better. So I think that was kind of what Daryl was getting at with that email.
And so before we wrap up our feedback, we need to make some snap judgments.
In the game of snap judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary.
Okay, strap in because our good friend Anna has sent in a snap judgment, and
Actually, there are 2.
have sent in 2 snap judgments, and
Yeah.
I'm just skimming, but I'm seeing a continuation of the saga of Fleur de Lis.
We thought it was over.
We thought it was over, but like prom again, here we are again. Here we are again. So let's go. In this snap, your fallen co-host was the mother of Fleur de Lis. After you witnessed your co-host's murder by the best friend, you have taken guardianship of orphaned Fleur de Lis. A month has passed and you haven't been sleeping much because of the flashbacks have kept you awake. One day, Fleur de Lis emerges from her room and announces, "I have created technology to bring my mom back to life. But first, we have to capture her ghost form." Okay, I have tracked down her exact location to a high security mansion in California. What do you do next? Agree to the plan and go with Fleur de Lis to the mansion and attempt to break in to capture and bring your ghost co-host back to life, or tell Fleur de Lis that you want to take the technology and go alone because you feel responsible for your co-host's death and need to do this alone to prove to yourself that you can still save her. So there's like no scenario in which we're not going to this mansion. I just want to be clear. Like there's no scenario in which we're just
We choose not to
abandoning
go.
the ghost of our co-host and just getting on with our lives.
Would you do that? You would just leave me?
Of course,
You would just leave Ghost Rebecca hanging in the way?
I wouldn't do it. I just like to have the choice, you know? Free will and all, Rebecca. I'm coming to get you. So, would you go with Fleur de Lis or would you go alone to
I
this
think-
mansion in California to get my ghosts?
I mean, California sounds great, honestly.
It does. It's very cold here.
They have great weather all year round. I think I have to go with Fleur de Lis. I don't know how to work this technology. I don't know anything about. I mean, I've gone to some paranormal investigation presentations
That's
before,
true.
but I don't know how to work this technology. I think I need the expertise from Fleur de Lis to help. I think the better, strength in numbers when you're dealing with ghosts is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm also going to go with Fleur de Lis. I have a couple of reasons why. I'm not saying it's her fault, but I'm not saying it's not her fault. You know what I mean?
It was. Didn't her friend
It was her
Murder?
friend who murdered you.
Yeah.
And also, we didn't have any of these problems before she showed up. I'm not again, not blaming Fleur, but she came and suddenly there are a lot of issues popping up. You weren't a ghost before she showed up. But also, if I'm remembering the tragic backstory of Fleur de Lis right, she's an assassin, like a trained assassin.
She was, yeah.
And I feel like when you're trying to capture some ghosts in a California mansion, that's probably going to come in handy. Also, you know what? She had a kind of like a hard childhood. I'm going to take that girl to Disneyland afterwards. We're going to get your ghost. We're going to bring you back.
Disneyland.
And then we're all going to go to Disneyland, I think.
That's a great plan.
Sounds great. Yeah.
I think that's a good solution to that problem. Lots of good reasoning there. Yeah, Fleur de Lis, the saga of Fleur de Lis is very complicated and it has a lot of depth. So we have to go back in there and really dig deep in there. So I think that's a good solution to the problem.
I can't wait until like our 400th episode when we get like the complete.
Yeah, there will be a Fleur de Lis saga montage for sure.
It's going to be great. Okay. Jumping off of that, our last snap judgment from Anna. Would you rather have had the childhood of Fleur de Lis or Cara Danvers? Both traumatic in their own ways.
Yeah, I mean, Cara Danvers did get stuck in the Phantom Zone by herself. And she lived in the Phantom Zone for a while. But she never became a trained assassin. And she didn't have all these problems. So I think I'm going to go Cara Danvers.
Yeah, I don't want to see my planet destroyed and lose everybody I know.
I mean, that is a downside.
But I don't think I want to kill that many people in order to get to the future.
She did kill like 800 something people, or it was like a large number.
It was like more than 10, which is, I think...
That's one is enough.
I think once you get more than a baker's dozen, things have gone wrong in your life. So yeah, to not become a serial killer of sort of the highest magnitude, I'm also gonna go with the tragic backstory of Cara Danvers. Also, I get superpowers in that case.
You get superpowers, and you're stronger from the experience.
That's true.
You're a more hopeful person, and you can pass that hope on to other people.
I agree. It looks like we have actually a snap judgment in the chat. Let me grab it. Snap judgment from Mind the Gap. Does Melissa Benoist play Cara again? Yes or no? Do we think
is this do we think or do we want her to?
I'd have to assume it's do we think she will? Because I think we know the answer to want her to.
Yeah, the answer to that is yes.
Yes, definitely yes. Do I think she would, in like a crossover Spider-Man No Way Home situation, probably as like the main Supergirl again? I'd say probably not.
I think no. I think she's going to probably just exit gracefully, let the new Supergirl come in, do her thing. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say never, but if I had to pick one, I think she's closed the book on Cara, and I think she's moving on. So for this snap judgment, I will say no.
Yeah, I can imagine her coming back for like a guest spot in some future Supergirl project, or as like a different version of Supergirl for like an episode or a movie, but I don't think that I could see her headlining a Supergirl project again for like a second time.
I see her more in the future of doing things like Helen Slater, where she comes into another iteration of a Superman or Supergirl story and plays a character within that new iteration. So maybe she comes in and plays Allura for the next generation's Supergirl, something like that. I could see that happening.
Yeah, me too. Actually, looks like Rachel in the stream said, I want Melissa and Jesse to play Allura and Zor-El eventually.
I think that's possible, I think.
Yeah,
Jesse
I could
definitely
see that. Oh, Jesse, like you could call Jesse up and be like, hey, and he's like, I'm just in. He's just putting his Legion ring on as he's saying hello to you. On the phone.
You want me to play Crypto? I think I could make that work. Like he would be. You want me to play Starro? I'm into it. I could definitely play Starro. Like he would do anything.
Yeah,
I think anything you need Jesse Rath to do, I think he would do it. So if there are no other snap judgments in the chat, do we see any other ones?
I'm not seeing any other ones, so I think that's gonna do it for our
All
snap
right.
judgment.
So we had another edition of the Fleur de Lis saga. So we'll see if it continues on. If maybe let's see if maybe I don't know if Anna wants to continue on and fill us in on what happens with the ghost situation.
I feel like we've left in a really precarious situation now, so we need to get another snap judgment.
We have a cliffhanger now, so now we need to choose our own adventure to see what happens with the ghost situation. So until the next chapter of the Fleur de Lis saga, I think that's going to wrap up Snap Judgments. No judgments on your Snap Judgments. All right, that is going to do it for the final Supergirl Radio Awards, and this specifically for season 6. So we need to get to some Supergirl Radio and DC TV plugs. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW's Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio is part of the DC TV Podcast Network, so if you also like The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Titans, Doom Patrol, Batwoman, Stargirl, Superman and Lois, and the upcoming Green Lantern, Justice League Dark, and Strange Adventure shows, and DC TV After Dark, you can subscribe to the DC TV Podcast Mega Feed on Apple Podcasts. Follow at DC TV Podcasts on Twitter, and like DC TV Podcasts on Facebook, or else. This has been a message from Hope, inhabiting the Flash vessel, also known as New Rachel.
We're probably going to have to update the plugs soon.
I mean, there's so many shows.
So once I get an accurate list of the podcast, we might do a new contest. So stay tuned for that.
I think one of the new shows just started like tonight too.
Yeah, Naomi. Yeah,
Naomi.
So we've got to update that plugs list.
I forgot to DVR that. Shoot. I'll watch it sometime, just like Stargirl. I've got quite a long list of like DC shows I need to catch up on. But I got to find out what Lana Lang's been wearing recently, so I think that's the top of the list.
My high priority.
It's like it goes Lana Lang and like whatever's going to happen with Director Bones. It got to be ready for Bones.
Yeah.
But speaking of DC TV and the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store, we have merch.
Yeah, we have some Cat Grant merch there in the TeePublic store. A lot of Catco stuff in the TeePublic store. So if you want to check that out and support the DC TV Podcast Network, check out the store. All right. And we would also like to thank our legion of super sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. These people are Michael, Sam, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Quinn, Nicola, Leslie, Abby, Irmgard, Miriam, Cherie, Donna, Nicole, Lizeth, and Faith. If you would like to become a legion of super sponsor, visit patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. We have 4 tiers of monthly memberships, and we appreciate you helping keep the lights on. And just for a real world example of ways in which you can have a voice in the direction of Supergirl Radio episodes. If you become a boardroom boss, you can pitch an episode that we do. And recently, Quinn, one of our boardroom bosses, suggested that we try to get Lori Hernandez, a United States Olympic athlete, a gymnast, and a TV star in her own right. Quinn suggested we contact Lori Hernandez because Lori is a big Supergirl fan and has actually designed some of her gymnastics leotard after female superheroes. I saw mostly Marvel related ones, so we'll have to ask her about why she's not dipping her toe into the DC realm with those designs. But we are going to interview Lori Hernandez, and so Quinn suggested turned into a reality because she's a boardroom boss and she has the ability to do that through the Patreon. So those are the kinds of things that you can be involved in. But you can still get Supergirl Radio for free every week. But if you just want a little extra something, you can support us through the Supergirl Radio Patreon. All right. You can also find me. There are a couple of places you can find me on the internet. You can check me out on Vero, which is a social media platform that I enjoy a lot. If you were on Vero, you would know that I've been watching The Witcher recently, trying to get through The Witcher.
So one of the fun things about The Witcher, I think that we haven't mentioned, if anybody hasn't watched it, is that our boy Amadei is on The Witcher. And this is a thing I told you, I think, last year.
Actually, I think we have mentioned this on the podcast.
Good. Because it took me a really long time. I was like, oh, it's haunting me. Why do I know that man's face? And then it was like, of course, Amadei.
Yeah, so I have been watching Amadei, who is in The Witcher. So Vero, which is the social media platform I'm on, at Derby Kid. I share those things. I share what I've been watching or what I've been listening to. You can also check me out on Instagram at The Derby Kid. I'm also on YouTube with a personal YouTube channel that I have at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. I've been doing Sunday night live streams at 9 p.m. Eastern, reading Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice reviews by the top critics of Rotten Tomatoes. And that has been delightful and also very informative. So if you are interested in talking about film analysis, come join me over there. Lots of fun.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Mojotastic. You can also find me as a co-host on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast. We just had our fun crossover event with Supergirl Radio last night, but it turns out the show's coming back this week, so we'll be back again. It's going to be a lot of me this week if you listen to both podcasts, and I'm sorry about that. But we'll be recording later this week, and our episode about I guess this would be the mid-season premiere. Time has really lost all meaning when it comes to Legends because of the back-to-back nature of this season 6 and 7. It feels like we're always just around the corner from a premiere of some kind. But we're excited to see where the rest of the season 7 is going to be going. And you can find me as a co-host on DC TV After Dark, which I feel like we should do pretty soon. Gotta start talking to Sarah about scheduling. We should just do our yearly podcast on that one any day now.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are wanting some more DC TV After Dark. So give the people what they want, more episodes. So yeah, I don't think you can have too much Morgan Glennon in your podcast feed. I think
you definitely can.
I think the Morgan Glennon podcast universe is something that most people enjoy. So I think that is quite delightful. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And thanks for attending the Supergirl Radio Awards.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira.
I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!